Right, I've cut out all of my templates. Just a couple of notes on this. You'll notice that, well, you might not notice, but either way, the holes for my markers, I've actually cheated, and you'll see in the tools list that I say if you have a hole punch, it will come in handy, and I just use the tiniest setting, which is 2mm. To make my holes. It's just quicker. It makes no difference to the look of it. So that's the one with the pin I pushed through, and that's the one with the hole punch. It just makes it quicker. So if you don't have one, it doesn't make any difference. If you do have one, then great, it's just speedier. The other thing I just wanted to mention was with the epaulettes, I have not cut into all those little tiny lines. I've only cut out the notches and around the edge. That's just because it's really unnecessary. I mean, you don't have to have those bits exactly on the lines, they're just there for reference. So once you've cut out that shape, you can just cut that section into 3 lines, that section into 5 lines, and so on. It doesn't have to be super precise. So once you've got all your templates, we need to attach them to our felt pieces. I mentioned before about how freezer paper sticks temporarily. The way that it does that is the shiny piece on the shiny side on the back. That shiny stuff is actually a thin film of plastic, and we're going to use an iron to press the pieces onto the felt, and the plastic will melt to form a kind of temporary glue, and then when you've finished cutting out around it just holds it in place, so you don't need to worry about it moving while you're trying to cut it out, which means you can make really precise pattern pieces, and then when you've finished you can just peel it off. That glue is completely temporary. So what I'm just going to do is line up some of my pattern pieces. So you'll notice I haven't drawn on some of these, that's because I know what I'm doing more with these ones, but if you're not sure, then just refer to the templates as well. So you can just lay them out. You want the shiny side down. If you put the shiny side up, that plastic is going to melt all over your iron and cause a big mess, and you don't want it to do that. So line them up however you want, as long as they fit on your pieces of felt. That's all you need. So the jacket pieces go on the green felt. The 2 of the ears go on the peach. I'm just going to line them up so they're all organised to start with. On the mustard colour, you need to have the 2 cuffs, the crown, and the epaulettes. Actually, let's have this laid out a bit differently to give us a bit more space. Again, just making doubly sure that you've got the plastic side down. That also, if you have marked your template pieces, if you've written on them, that will really help you to remember which side is the shiny side and which side isn't, because you'll have written on the side that needs to stay up. So do as I say, not do as I do, as my mum always used to tell me. The breeches go on the cream, and the body pieces will go on this brown. I lay mine out like this. You don't have to, you can do them however you like. I just find this gives me a little bit to play with down here if I need any for anything else or anything like that. Right, so normally if you're doing this at home, you would take this all over to a big ironing board and your big iron. Just to save me taking it all away from here, I'm going to cheat and use this mini iron. It's no different to a regular size iron except that it's little. Whichever iron you're using, you want to use it on a medium hot setting so that it doesn't kind of shrink your felt, and you want to turn off any steam that it's got for the very same reason. So I'm just going to, instead of an ironing board, just put this towel underneath where I'm working so I don't ruin my tabletop. And then when you are pressing the pieces on, the key word here is press. You're not ironing like you would iron clothes and moving the iron over them. You want to press and hold with each piece. So if you're using a big iron, you can literally do all of these pieces in one shot, because the iron will cover them all, so it'll be a lot quicker. But I'm just going to show you with my little iron. So press and hold for maybe 3 or 4 seconds. You want to give it plenty of time, and you'll see that's really stuck down there now. You want to give it plenty of time to stick. Okay, and then just keep moving your way around all the pieces. Take particular care to stick down pointy bits at the ends, because they will be the first to start peeling off as you are as you're cutting around the templates. So make doubly sure that you've really got those edge bits stuck down well. They're pretty good. So I'm just going to carry on and stick all of my felt pieces, all of my pattern pieces to my felt, shiny side down, and then I'll come back and we'll do the cutting. Once you've ironed all your templates to your felt, then you want to cut out your template pieces. So I'm just going to show you with one piece, and then you can go and continue and do all the rest in the same way. So you do it just like the templates, really, the paper templates. So I'm going to, using my sharp embroidery scissors, I'm going to rough cut around the shape. And then what you want to do is just run your scissors right up next to that paper as close as you can. So you're basically cutting along where that line was before that you cut around. You don't want to cut into the paper, just be right next to it so you can kind of feel your way along. And again, when you come to little curves, turn the felt rather than the scissors. I've gone a bit wide there. To make sure you end up with nice smooth curves. So your felt shouldn't really be sticking out anywhere outside of the template. You want it to be bang on, really. And then once you have cut it out, if there are any marks on that piece, so there are marks on this piece where the buttons are, you need to, excuse me, take your water erasable pen. If you're using the really dark felt, you can use, you can see this pen on it, although you won't be able to see it from on the camera probably. But if you would rather, you can, the other thing you can use is one of these chalk pens. They come in all different makes and sizes and thicknesses and stuff. This one is really good. It's like a mechanical pencil, but it has chalk lead in it, and I use the white. You can get different refills for it. It is pretty ridiculously expensive for a mechanical pencil, but it really does the job well. So if you don't have a water erasable marker, or if you just prefer to use chalk, then I'd recommend one of these ones. They're pretty good. But for this video I will just use this. Yeah, you should be able to see it on here. So you can just make a dot through each hole where the buttons are going to be. And then once you've made all your marks and you're happy that they're definitely transferred, then you just peel off the freezer paper, and you're left with your perfect marked piece of felt. And then you go on and do the same with all of those pieces. With freezer paper, you can reuse these templates a few times. They will stick a couple more times. If you re-iron them to a new piece of felt, then you can make a duplicate jacket in a different colour if you want to dress them up in different colours, or make another mouse that is exactly the same. You can use these templates again. Just a note on that, if you've made the first character, if you've made Cinder Mouse, although they look similar from afar, the bodies are different shapes. The bodies for Cinder Mouse and Mouse Charming are a different shape, and their clothes are made specifically to fit each character. So just be careful that if you are keeping your freezer paper templates to reuse them to make more mice, just make sure you keep them separate. So keep all of your Mouse Charming pieces in one like plastic sleeve, and then all of your Cinder Mouse pieces in another, because they are different shapes and you don't want to get them mixed up, because he will not fit into Cinder Mouse's dress and his jacket will swamp her. So yeah, just keep an eye on where you're up to with those. So then you can just go ahead and cut out all of the other pieces, all the bits on here. Make sure you transfer all the marks. I'm just going to cut out one of these and then come back and show you how I transfer these mouth and ear markers. So bear with me a second. Right, so when you come to cut out these body pieces, again, like you did with the tracing the paper templates, just take extra care around these little feet and arms, because if the freezer paper is going to start peeling off anywhere, it will be there. And what you don't want to happen is to cut one side and then the freezer paper kind of moves, you cut the other side, and then you've got a teeny tiny, most ridiculously skinny foot that you can't fit anything inside. So just when you're cutting around the limbs, just be really careful to hold it in place as you go around. Check that it hasn't moved, and if in doubt, cut a little outside where you think it needs to be. You can always trim it down, but it's more difficult to put it back. Anyway, so back to the marks for the face. You'll remember we made slits where the mouth and ears needed to be, and what we're going to do is we're just going to peel the paper back at those points and just fold it out of the way, and then this is where I'll just use my chalk pencil so hopefully you can see it a little bit better. Run a mark along that line and do the same thing with these ear markers. So you fold up or fold back the little slip of paper in between the two ear marks, make a mark either side of that, and then you can make your eye mark just like you did for the buttons, and try not to throw your pen over the floor, and then peel off the template piece for that. And then you can, I'm not even sure if you can see the chalk after all that on this camera, but then you're left with those marks. So that's how to transfer those. So yeah, go ahead, do all the body pieces, clothing pieces, and then you'll just put them all neatly to one side and you're ready for the next step. One final thing that I forgot to mention before is that when you've cut out your ear pieces, I recommend keeping the paper on them, because they look pretty much the same, but they are slightly lower on one side, and when you fold them they are made to fit on a specific side of the head. So keep the labels on them, and then you remember which side is which, but everything else you can peel off, and then you really are ready for the next step.